All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on your time zone. So I'm not sure how many of you are joining from San Francisco Bay Area. Please apologize. Apologize for this particular hour. Let's begin. I think people will keep joining, but let's get going. So I'll briefly talk about the entrepreneurship GAM, and I have my co-host Hirschi with me, who will introduce our honorable speaker, Amar. You may already know about him, and that's why probably you are joining the talk. But that's the format that we will go ahead with. So TEG we started last year around July. This is the 16th edition of the series. Uh, uh, when we started, we had this idea in mind to create a platform where young entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs get some support system so they can get in touch with like-minded people, get some support from veteran entrepreneurs like we have Amar with us at the moment, but also be a part of the network of like-minded individuals, share whose stories can motivate them, or they can look for some kind of help or some kind of mentorship from these veteran entrepreneurs. And I think we have a very active WhatsApp community of around 800 people. And now we have been like more than 1 year. And I can say that when I see in the group, people are very actively looking forward to support. People are telling that, this is how you can do this particular thing in any given country around the world. I feel that TEG has grown to become one of the very active global network of IIT Bombay alumni, but the community is also open to non-alumni as well. So that makes the dynamic a lot more interesting because there are not many such groups existing globally. Obviously, there are some outside groups, as you may know. For example, TAI is one such organization which does that. But formally, from an institution point of view, this is something where we were looking for to bring in alumni together and kind of create synergies for alumni, but also we kept it open for non-alumni who are looking forward to such kind of opportunities and synergies. So without wasting a lot more time, I will invite Hirschi to introduce the speaker formally. Please go ahead, Hirschi.
Thank you, Vaibhav. I'm Rishikesh Satpane. I was president of the IIT Bombay Heritage Foundation local chapter in San Francisco Bay Area. And we at IIT Bombay Alumni Association are honored to welcome M.R. Rangaswamy, a visionary entrepreneur and philanthropist who has left an indelible mark on the global stage. From humble beginnings to becoming a leading figure in Silicon Valley, MR's journey is testament to his unwavering determination and entrepreneurial spirit. As a co-founder of Sandhill Group, one of the earliest angel firms in '97, he has played a pivotal role in shaping the technology landscape, not just in Silicon Valley, but way beyond that. MR's influence extends far beyond his business. My friends consider me as a well-networked person, but I take inspiration from MR. He is a master networker. And not only that, he leverages his connections to create positive impact, a global positive impact. Through initiatives like Indiaspora, a global network of Indian diaspora leaders, he has mobilized resources and inspired action, that's the hard part, to address critical social and economic challenges. MR's passion for philanthropy is evident in his support for various causes, including education, healthcare, environmental sustainability. I really admire the effort where you're getting all these Fortune 500 companies together to focus on sustainability. That's so amazing. By leveraging his network and resources, MR has empowered countless individuals to join the cause and make a difference. So today, we are privileged here to hear from an extraordinary individual, MR. His words will undoubtedly inspire us all to think bigger, dream bolder, and strive for a better world. So please join me in extending a warm welcome to MR Rangaswamy.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot,
Rishi.
Rishi.
Thank
So
you,
MR,
Vaibhav.
please, yeah, please. Yeah. Please go ahead, MR. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Thank you so much, Rishi. Good morning, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. I know this is a 24-hour cycle these days, so really like to welcome you and thank you for joining me. This is something I love to do, is to talk to people, especially people who are interested in purpose. They are interested in taking risk, and they also want to make an impact. I think these are all noble causes for all of us as we go through our lives. And so I've divided my talk today to three parts. So after we conclude, I'm happy to answer any question that you will have for me. And I prefer that actually. So I'll keep my talk to 30 minutes and hopefully give you another 25, 30 minutes of interactive discussions with us. So let me start with purpose. So I was born and raised in Chennai, and I'm a big fan of IIT Madras, just to create some competition here, and have been to IIT to visit some of my friends who used to go to school there, have fond memories of Saturday night at the open air theater. I have no idea if it still exists there, but there was a special meal and a movie on Saturday nights that I used to go to. But my journey began in Chennai, and my first degree that I started with was BCom, or Bachelor of Commerce, accounting, if you will, at Loyola College. But my journey was unfulfilled because as I was going through my education, I really didn't see any interest or purpose in being an accountant or a chartered accountant of any kind. So I dutifully finished my degree, got my BCom, and then was trying to figure out what should I do in life. So a lot of people in my family were lawyers. My grandfather was a lawyer, my father was a lawyer, my uncle was a lawyer. So everybody in my family suggested maybe I try my hand at law. So I went to law college, and 2 years into it, I really didn't like that either. So I was trying to figure out what to do in life because I just couldn't find a purpose. That's when my older brother, who lived in the US, was visiting, and he said, "Look, why don't you come to the United States and study over here? Maybe you'll find your purpose." So I took him up on the offer and joined an MBA program in the US to come here to the United States. And I went to Ohio to get my MBA. And as I was proceeding to do my MBA, I started liking marketing. And so I said, maybe I'll get an MBA in marketing and I'll be a great marketeer. But as I went through that, I met a professor who was teaching us operations management and operations research. And I fell in love with that and thought that was going to be my calling. So I kind of moved from marketing to operations research. And then I got out of college with an MBA. And then I go, what do I do in life, right? This is a question a lot of you might have asked as well. So I ended up getting a job at a manufacturing company using my background in operations management. And I worked very successfully for 3 years, but I still really said, it's a job. It's a nice job. It's an interesting job, but I couldn't see myself being a lifelong person in manufacturing or in a factory or in an operational role. But fortuitously, as I was undertaking training, one of the consultants was giving us training, said, "Tell me about your background." So I told him, I was using computers at work, I had an MBA, and I was in a manufacturing company. And he said, "What the heck are you doing in Houston, Texas?" That's where I was living and had my job. He said, "You should be in this place called Silicon Valley." And this statement he made to me was in 1982. So think about this. You're in 1982. There's nothing called the internet. There's no mobile phone. There's nothing. And so I got curious and said, where the heck is Silicon Valley? I lived about 1,500 miles away from there. So I had to go to the library to read newspapers about San Francisco. I didn't know anybody who lived in Silicon Valley. But I did my research and I said, what the heck? Let me take a chance. Let me write to some companies in Silicon Valley. And I sent my resume and biodata in to about 20 companies at that time in 1982. And one of them was crazy enough that they called me for a phone interview in those days. I passed the phone interview and they flew me out to San Francisco for the final interview, and they gave me a job on the spot. So that was my first introduction into Silicon Valley. So I call myself an accidental tourist. I had no plans, nothing to do with San Francisco. Here I am in Silicon Valley in 1982, folks. Got a job and was working in something today that you would call a startup. In those days, there was no nomenclature for a company that was just getting started, right? And so that's what I did. And I had a lot of fun with it. I was, again, back into marketing because that was one of my areas of focus, and became the vice president of marketing. But little did I realize that that company wouldn't be around. And a lot of you who work in the startup land, obviously you hear startups are successful, but the little known fact is 99% of them fail. So I was there and I failed at my first job in Silicon Valley. And then I was lucky in that a friend of mine who worked in this company had joined a little company called Oracle. And he was working with Larry Ellison, and Larry was looking to get into the applications business. So he was looking for good people to join. So my old friend and boss called me and said, hey, why don't you come talk to Oracle? And I ended up getting a job at Oracle. Again, Oracle was a terrific place, and my cubicle was outside Larry Ellison's office. And I learned a lot more by having my cube outside his office than anything I have in business life. Because as he would pass by, he would stop for a minute and talk to me and engage with me. And that gave me so much intuition and knowledge and ideas. I spent 4 years there. He really liked me. He made me a vice president, and I launched some of the Oracle applications. But I still wanted to get back in a startup, because by that time, in 4 years, Oracle had gone from a $100 million company to a $1 billion company. It was an amazing ride, but it was not something I wanted to still do, because it had now grown to be a large company with thousands of employees. So I went back into a second startup. And again, this was one of these things. I failed again, okay, at the second company, and that went broke. And then the third time around, I said, I'm still going to try a startup. And this is what a lot of people in Silicon Valley do, is to try again, because it never does the first startup succeed. So I ended up in my third startup, and luck would have it, this was a company that went public. And then I was able to, make it, as you call it, in Silicon Valley. But I still really didn't feel I had a purpose. It was great to be a VP of marketing. It was terrific to have made some money, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do in life. What was I going to do? What was that purpose? Being a chief marketing officer wasn't my purpose in life. It was a nice job. It was a great living, and I met lots of people. I did a lot of travel, and it was fantastic. But I still had this emptiness in me that said, I'm not sure that's what I want to continue to do. So I made a bold decision to just quit. So I walked away from this company that was doing extremely well. Like I said, I was the chief marketing officer. And not only that did I quit, I left millions of dollars of stock options on the table as well. Okay. And said, I've made enough money. I don't need to make more money. Let me go figure out what to do in life. So at that time, I just had gotten married. So the first thing was I focused on having a family. So, my wife had a baby. We had a baby, and that was my next phase in life. And then we had a second baby and so forth, right? But I didn't know really what to do. So I ended up kind of helping startups, because I really liked startups. But I didn't know I'd become something called an angel investor. Today, everybody's an angel. But in those days, in the 1990s, there was no category called angel investing. They would think you're a venture capitalist. They'd come to me and say, oh, you're a VC. I said, no, I'm not a VC. VCs play with other people's money. I play with my own money, right? That's the big difference. And the Wall Street Journal found out that I was doing this new thing, and a reporter followed me for a couple of days. They flew in from New York, followed me around Silicon Valley, And lo and behold, they put me on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And that was my 15 minutes of fame, as they say. I got hundreds and thousands of phone calls from people who wanted to give me money, people who wanted to take my money. It was an exciting time in my life, but I still figured out just doing startups, helping companies start up and helping them raise money, hire people, get customers wasn't fulfilling enough for me. And that's when I decided to start a conference because I had a huge network, was mentioned. I knew at that point in time, I think I had binders with 4,000 business cards or calling cards. I mean, today nobody has a calling card or business card, but I'd accumulated 4,000 of them. And I said, what do I do with this? And someone said, you know what, if you want to keep in touch with these guys, there was no LinkedIn at that time, no Facebook, none of that stuff to keep in touch with people. So I said the best excuse is to have a conference because people like to party, but they like to say we go to a conference and then they like to party. So ended up, I wanted to start a conference. So as an entrepreneur starting a conference, I got an advisory board of people who would help me shape the event, generate the agenda, get speakers, and so forth. And these were very important people in Silicon Valley. A couple of leading venture capitalists, a couple of leading CEOs of large companies. And I said, I want to do this conference for the top 100 CEOs in technology. And they all said, yeah, this is great, but we are not going to come to your event, even though we like you and we advise you. And I said, why? They said, you don't differentiate your conference. And this is something you learn in marketing is you have to have a differentiated product, a unique selling proposition. And I hadn't done my homework, even though I was a marketeer. I thought I would just start a conference and people would come. And on day one, when we sent out emails and stuff, nobody registered for the conference. So I was in a dilemma now. I said, I've announced this thing. What do I do? And that's when I made a decision that actually made me have a purpose in life. And that decision I made was I said, this would be the first conference in Silicon Valley, if not in the world, where all the profits, all the surplus would go to nonprofits. I would not take a single penny or paisa from this event. I would run it. I would bring 100 CEOs, and these people are going to pay me today's terms, $10,000 a year to be part of this group. And all the profits would go to nonprofits. So I made this bold claim and I sent out emails. And lo and behold, people started signing up because they said, who is this person who is starting a conference where he's not going to make any money and he's going to give away all the money? Okay. And that's how I found my purpose, because when we had the first conference, we brought in two young nonprofit CEOs who had just started their NGOs and made them part of this network, made them present to this group. And they also got board members out of this group. They got mentors out of this group. And I felt so fulfilled. And I remember in the first year, we gave away something like $40,000. But it was not the amount of money. It was just the gratification I got by seeing these young NGOs get started, get going. And over time, these NGOs got hundreds of thousands of dollars from the CEOs there, because these CEOs could give their own money. They gave CSR money from their companies. And so they really were able to help these NGOs. And so we kept repeating this conference for 10 years, where every year 100 CEOs would come together. We'd bring in two new NGOs who had started with their founders to get money from us, but to get mentorship and advice and so forth. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that was the most fulfilling thing for me at that time. I became an accidental philanthropist, and that's where I found my purpose. So from that time on, what I used to do and what I do now is anything that can build community. So what I'd done without knowing was I built a community of the top CEOs in Silicon Valley. And by the way, this group is called Enterprise. If you want more information on what activities this group does and what I do in the tech sector, my website is very simple to learn. It's called sandhill.com. Sandhill.com is my website where we have articles for entrepreneurs. We also have our conference information and so on and so forth there. And by the way, I bought this website for $20 in those days. None of the smart VCs thought they should take sandhill.com as their URL, even though all of them had offices on Sand Hill Road. So if those of you who know Silicon Valley know there's one street in Silicon Valley where about few hundred venture capitalists have their offices, and nobody had bothered to take sandhill.com as their URL. And fast forward, to today, nobody had taken sandhill.ai as a URL either. So I own that as well. So one of these days, when I quit doing what I do, I think I'll put that out at an auction and then give the proceeds to charity. So that's my goal for the website sandhill.com and sandhill.ai, is not to make money, but to sell it and give the money away to nonprofits. So what I've done here, everyone, is I'd created a community. I didn't realize this. All these CEOs started talking to each other. All these CEOs jointly started helping nonprofits. And we had a strict code of not selling to anyone. So it was all about sharing, collaborating, mentoring, and bringing that Indianness into this event. Even though this was not an Indian event, the concept of seva or selfless service was at the heart of this enterprise conference. So people came together to help each other, to help the NGOs, and really got so much out of it. And over the 25 years that we've had enterprise, we have given away, get this, and you won't know, and I don't take stock, but over 25 years, we have given away and impacted $25 million to nonprofits, okay? It adds up. We started with $40,000. To date, it's $25 million. And it's to nonprofits that work with children, nonprofits that give to communities worldwide. And these NGOs do incredible work. And each year we choose a couple of new NGOs to award grants and to bring into our network. So that was the first network I've created to make an impact. And I found my purpose. So then I have two young daughters at that time. They were 10 and 8. And people said, you got to do something to be a good role model for your kids. So I started thinking, and people said, why don't you do something in the green tech space, clean tech space? That would be a fantastic place to start something. So I didn't know anything about green or clean. This was 2007. When I started Enterprise, it was in 1998. So this was 10 years later. I didn't know anything, but as an entrepreneur, I went to talk to a lot of people in the Fortune 500 who were working on sustainability, who were working on climate change. This was in the early days of the climate movement in 2007. But people started trusting me because I came with the purpose of helping them build a community, making impact. And so I ended up starting my second community called the Corporate Eco Forum, or the website is ecoforum.com. And this is now a membership group of 85 of the world's largest companies. You name it: Apple, Amazon, Disney, Microsoft, UPS, Ford, General Motors, Unilever, you name it. These companies all have someone in their organization called the Chief Sustainability Officer. And so we work with them to reduce their footprint of greenhouse gases, buy more renewable energy, really become better global citizens and better corporate citizens through the use of CSR, through building better supply chains, building better manufacturing facilities, and so forth. So this is a very thriving community that we have created, and that's the second one I did. And the third one just came about again by accident. My purpose, as you'll see, is not a straight path. It's kind of a zigzag path to get to where I wanted to go. And so the third group was I was helping an organization in India that called NASSCOM. They are primarily in the IT services area, but they really wanted to get into products, software products, and to bring together young companies and entrepreneurs and founders who are developing software as opposed to selling services. So I decided to help them and partnered with them for 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, to build an event in Bangalore called the Product Conclave, the NASSCOM Product Conclave, or they call it NPC. And over time, I used to bring delegations from Silicon Valley every year of VCs and people like Vinod Khosla and many others to kind of do inspirational keynotes, boot camps, workshops, to teach young entrepreneurs how to start a company and how to build a successful organization. So over 10 years, we'd gone from 200-300 entrepreneurs attending this event to 2,500 entrepreneurs coming to this event. And I was tired every year of coming to India for a week and working late night, preparing for this conference for 3 to 6 months. And so I said, maybe I can do something for my brethren and sisters in the United States. And that's where I got the idea of Indiaspora. And Indiaspora is now a network of and a community and a platform of leading global citizens who are doctors, lawyers, academics, VCs, CEOs, artists, you name it, NGO leaders, and so forth, to be a force for good. So everything we do is around a purpose of doing good or seva. For example, during COVID, we raised in 1 month, the Indiaspora community raised $15 million for relief to India. And we sent all the money to different nonprofits. And we also raised $1 million for food banks and kitchens in the US in the early days of COVID. So that's the ethos behind Indiaspora as well. And the website is indiaspora.org. So quickly, I found my purpose, and that is to build communities that make an impact. But it was a long and winding road. It took me decades to figure out I didn't want to be an accountant. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be an MBA student who was working in a large corporate. I did not want to do any of that. Instead, I wanted to build communities that make an impact. So that was my way of finding purpose, but you don't have to wait that long. I don't think people have to wait 20 years. Maybe it does take you time, but I think the way for young people, especially, to do that might be to get a mentor. Because when I was going through my life, I never had a mentor in the early days. So I was just doing things just based on intuition, based on talking to a few friends. But I would urge all of you, especially the young group that's listening in, that you need to find a mentor. And this can be someone who might be, a relative. It shouldn't be a father or mother, hopefully. They're too close to you. But it could be a relative, it could be a friend's father. But you need to really take steps to get a mentor. And this is someone you look for is one, someone who listens to you, two, who gives you good advice, and three, who pushes you and keeps you honest. Because and I, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I still have a mentor who is older than me. I visit with him every 6 months, and he is so tough on me that I still have a mentor who asks me all the hard questions on everything I do in life. And I still keep that. So please find a mentor, and maybe the first person may not be the right one, but look for someone you can share your innermost feelings, your thoughts, be honest with someone about yourself, get advice, and someone who's your sounding board, who's your conscience. Okay. So hopefully this will help you find your purpose in life. Now, let me come to the second point I was supposed to cover with you, and that is taking risk. So in my journey, I've taken a lot of risk. When I came to the United States, at that time, the Indian government in the 70s only gave us $8. Get this, we only got $8. We got $8 bills when we got our F1 visa to come to the United States, okay? And so you leave with $8 and you end up in the US. And my brother's friend was supposed to pick me up at JFK, and I was hoping he actually would. If not, with $8, you cannot get a hotel room in New York, even in those days, right? So, but that's what risk is all about, is doing that, coming up with $8, going to college, working your way through college, taking some loans, and making something of yourself. But there are many, many kinds of risk you can take, and let me cover those. So when you're a youngster, you can room up with 2-3 other IIT folks in an apartment or a flat, and you can start a company. You can do all that stuff when you're young, and it's a perfect time to take risk is when you're young, right? You have nothing, you're not married, you have no loans, you just have to basically pay for some food and lodging, and it's a fantastic time for you to take risk. But some people take risk even later in life. But again, be aware of the stages in life you're taking risk. It's much better to take risk when you're young. It's much harder to take risk and crazier to take risk when you're old. But I have friends, and I'll tell you risks you shouldn't take. I have a friend, he has 2 teenage children, and he has put his entire savings, including the college savings, the college money he had set aside for his kids to go to college. He's put all that into his startup. Okay. Now his kids are nearing college age and they don't have money for college tuition. So that is not a good way to take risk. I have another friend, an extreme case. He is in his 60s and he decided he liked the purpose, not the purpose, but the idea of his company so much. He took his entire savings, retirement money, like from the equivalent of Provident Fund or whatever, equivalent here is called 401k. Our IRA, he took all that money and put it into his nonprofit. And he doesn't have an exit. All that money is gone. Okay. And those are the kind of risks you shouldn't take. Okay. So just when you're taking risk, I urge you to take risk in life because with risk comes reward, but with risk also comes failure. So you want to take calculated risks. You want to take risks at the right stage in your life. So think about all this when you're taking risk. It's not blindly taking risk or just jumping into the fire. Okay. So just think about it some more when you do take the risk. And these stages of risk bring me to another topic, and that is part of your life journey has changed. So when my parents, in my parents' generation, the whole goal was their life expectancy was 60, 70 years old, right? So everything needed to be speeded up. And these are values and doctrines that they gave to us. And my generation, in a lot of cases, continues to give the same doctrines and values to our children. But I urge young people on this call and who are listening in and will listen in on YouTube and other channels, please take a look at this in a very different light. Say you're someone in your 20s. The good news is the life expectancy of someone who is in their 20s today is not 60 years, not 70 years, not 80 years, not 90 years, it's 100 years. So just think of this. You're going to live for 100 years. Like in India, they bless you sometimes. They say you live for 100 years. That's actually become true now. Most of you in your 20s are going to live to 100. So what does that mean? Your parents come and tell you, hey, get a degree at IIT by 22. You got to do it. You got to get a degree at 22. Then get a job immediately. Then what is the next thing they tell you? They say, get married. You're 25, you're old. You get married. So they pressure you and they force you to get married. And people, parents on this call, please don't hate me for this, right? The next thing they tell you is, oh, you're 26, you haven't had a child yet? So then they make you have a child and you get pressured to having a child. Then at 28, they say you haven't had the second one. And so you have a second child. So by 30 years old, you've finished everything your parents want you to do, right? But then the bad news is you have 70 years to do stuff in life. 70 years. Just think of that journey. You have 70 more years to do things in life. So what I urge you to do is to take a look at your life journey a little differently. So why don't you take a look at your life in a different manner? So in your 20s, why don't you take risk? Okay. And this risk means maybe you don't get married in their 20s because you have to take care and support and work with a partner, right? Maybe that's when you do a startup. That's when you take a gap year or take a year after your IIT and go travel or go work at an NGO, for no salary or volunteer or very low wages. Why don't you do something that is completely different than what your degree is all about? Let's say you have an IIT degree in mechanical engineering or computer science. Maybe go do something else. Maybe your passion at that time is, say, maybe I want to be a singer. Whatever it is, that's the great time to follow something, your desire, your passion, even though it may not be a job, is do something in life, take time off, work for an NGO, do something crazy. I would urge you to do that. And you can get a job later, especially with an IIT degree. I'm sure you'll get a job in a minute. You'll have 10 offers, right? When you're ready to get a job. And maybe you can get married, not at 25, and maybe you can get married at 30. I don't know. Parents may hate me for giving you that advice, but maybe that's okay. And maybe you can have kids in your 30s, right? And even when you've fulfilled all the desires of your parents, you still have a long road ahead, but you would have taken that young age of yours and done something that you won't regret later, saying, you know what, I should have been a musician for a few years. I should have worked in an NGO. Now I can't do any of that stuff. Okay. So there's stages of risk. And also, if you're young, really look at doing and fulfilling your desires at the early age when it doesn't matter as much. You don't accumulate money. You don't have a track record. You don't have to worry about your life journey at that point. But once you're married, you have kids, you have responsibility, your risk taking becomes quite different. Okay, that's quite different. So that was the second area. And the third thing I wanted to talk to you about was impact. And impact is something that all of us think about. And let me find my phone here. Impact is something a lot of us think about. And this is in the American tradition. One of the questions people ask is, hey, what do you want to be written on your tombstone or epitaph, right? But India, we don't really use that stuff. But I would say when you pass away from this life, what would be the one sentence you'd want to be known for? I'd like an urge and ask you to ponder on this. And you may change over time, but at least have something that's one sentence as to your North Star, your guiding principle, right? What would you like to be known for in life? Okay. And I'll come to mine in a minute. But as we look at making impact, I think a lot of us get caught with ego, desire. We become delusional. Sometimes we want to do great things. In that realm, I want to kind of go back to about 70 years when there was a famous scientist here, an astrophysicist, astronomer called Carl Sagan. And Carl Sagan there was a picture that a US rocket ship had taken of Earth when it was in space. And it showed Earth as a pale blue dot. It was a tiny speck. If you can Google this, you'll just Google the image of a pale blue dot, and you'll see the size of Earth when you look at it from millions of miles away, okay? The actual size of the Earth. When you look at that pale dot, Carl Sagan wrote something about the pale blue dot. I'll just take a minute to read it because this is a very profound thing he said. He said, look again at that dot. That's here. That's our home. That's us. On this, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, economic doctrines, every hunter, forager, every hero, every coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, every hopeful child, inventor, explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived here as a mere speck of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Okay? Just think of this. We are insignificant creatures in the universe. Okay? That's who we are. So as we think of our impact, what we need to do, that can be big, but we need to be humble and keep track that we are a mere speck of dust on a sunbeam, right? With that in mind, I can share with you what I would like people to tell about me after I pass away. And that is, he was helpful without seeking anything in return. And that's the purpose that guides me in my life. Is I say, I've got to help people. I can't expect anything back from them if I help them. You just help people, you pay it forward, and maybe or may not be that anyone helps you ever in your life, but hopefully that creates good karma for you. And that's something that you can take and be proud of. But please create your own one-liner of who you think and how you think you want to be remembered when you have passed away. And as you passed away as this mere speck of dust on a sunbeam. Okay, so I think I've shared enough with you, and I think Vaibhav and Rishi, I would love to interact with the audience. I'd love to really have a chat and with people who have any questions. Like I said, you have all my websites. You can hit me up on LinkedIn as well. It's just MR Rangaswamy. I also have another website called mrrangaswamy.com. It kind of covers my life journey as well if you want to take a look. But I want to turn the floor back to you, Vaibhav and Rishi.
Thanks a lot, Amar, for such a fantastic talk. Obviously, it was expected as as usual. Maybe for some people it's new, but I have seen a lot of your videos. I think Rishi has also is the same for Rishi as well. There are a lot of good questions. I'll start taking, and then I'll ask Rishi to take it forward. So the first one is from Shiva Venkatraman, a great friend of mine, a Singapore-based entrepreneur. He travels frequently to the US as well. He's teaching one of the programs on AI with us at IT Bombay Alumni Association. And his question is, do you think there is a process people can use to accelerate the discovery of their true purpose, which is something that you mentioned? So is there a method you would advocate? So maybe if you can quickly, highlight a bit
It's a
about
very,
that.
very good question. I mean, I wish there was a 1, 2, 3 step process that told us, do step A, answer these 10 questions, do step B, practice this, and you'll find it. I think it's really something I think we all need to think within. What excites you in life? Is it a fleeting one or is it long lasting? I think is one way to measure it. The other way to measure it is you do get up in the morning and you're excited every day, right? Because all of us don't get up every day feeling fully excited. Are you ready to jump up from bed and do what you're supposed to do? So there are a lot of little indicators and litmus tests that might tell you some of those things. But I found getting a mentor was very helpful for me because you're then able to ask the hard questions of someone who's not a family member, someone who's not a friend, but someone who looks out for you and cares for you. And that's been a helpful part of my life in making those iterations. But I think meditation is another good way to kind of calm yourself before you think about such things. But I haven't found, I'm sure there's self-help books around finding purpose in life, but all of them really take the journey by giving you examples like I have. There's no one cookie cutter to say, do these 6 things and you'll know your purpose in life, right? So it's a journey. It's a experience. You go through life, and that's what's the beauty of life is it's never fulfilled, right? You're always learning. You're always curious. You're always trying new things. You're always course correcting. So I would say mentorship, doing some meditation, doing different things in life. It'll tell you at least what to do you like and what you don't like. So it's all of the above. And a lot of that you can do when you're younger. It's much easier to do when you're younger.
Great, thanks. Rishi, would you like to take the next question?
Yes, so the next question is from Santosh Kumar Chellar. He is also based in the Bay Area, he's an engineer at Cisco. And it's along the similar lines as the previous question, but slightly different. He asks, when we do something without any expectation on return, is that the only way to feel the sense of purpose, or there are other ways?
No, I don't think it's, I think there's definitely a result. What I'm saying is don't expect anything back. So a lot of people would, if I call them and say, hey, Rishi, I need to be introduced to a person or I need some help. A lot of people have the initial reaction of what's in it for me. They kind of go, so if I help Rishi, then I will get something back from him at some point in life, or I'll be able to ask him a favor at some point. So take that out of your mind. If Rishi calls me and it's a genuine request, I will help you, okay? Whether it's money or an introduction or whatever be it, without expecting anything back. Now, you may get something good out of it because I may have introduced you and you get a job out of it. You'll call and thank me. And that's fulfillment, right? But there was no expectation Rishi is going to do a favor for me. That's the thing you shouldn't expect. But absolutely, the people, when you help them and you see them do something, there's a huge fulfillment reward. I've helped so many people, just mere introductions to a company and they get a job, but I had nothing to do with it, right? I just introduced them and they ended up getting a job. I feel really good that I helped someone get a job, right? That's fulfillment for me. But I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to ask Rishi for a favor next month. Hey, help me get a deal in your company. Leave that out of it, right? So that's the thing you need to separate.
Great, thanks. I think that brings to another question which 2, 3 people have posted, because a lot of these mentors probably would expect something in return, and that's what people are posting. Although I don't believe that is true. I have found my mentor who never expected anything in return. I'm pretty sure it's true for you, but that's what people are asking: how to find mentors if they're also looking forward to something in return. How to find mentors?
Yeah, these can happen. There's no cookie cutter. Like, I think you need to know, let's say, your general purpose in life, or let's say you're a business executive, right? Now they're actually in the US and maybe even in India, life coaches. So you can actually hire someone today to kind of sit down and say, hey, this is my life. What do I do? And in effect, they are a mentor, except they are paid to be that, right? So that's one way to go. If you can't find someone, is to look for a life coach and pay someone to actually help you with this, right? That's may not be a bad thing. I mean, there are many good life coaches who can do that. But I think to find a mentor, maybe it's someone in your profession. Let's say you're a doctor. You find maybe an older doctor, but don't make sure it's not a close family member, because there's too many other ties with you in that area, in that relationship. So maybe find an older doctor, but I think the main thing is you have to judge and see that they don't have that they're people who listen. They're people who genuinely like you and give you advice, and they are very candid with you. You don't want a mentor who's like, Vaibhav, you're great. Anything you go to, you're doing a fantastic job, right? That's not the objective. I think they should say, you're doing a good job, but you could be doing better. Or pushing you when you say you're going to do something you've never done it. To say, hey, you told me 6 months ago you're going to do X. I still see you haven't done it. What's going on, right? So someone who's like your guide, your guru, that mentality, that spirit is who you need, and not someone who's just telling all the good things to you. And my mentor points out all the things I've done wrong, which is I sometimes come out of those meetings not feeling very good, but you know what? It serves a purpose. It makes me a better person, right? So
Yeah,
it's
great.
something you may not, it may not be the first one that you go approach as a mentor that becomes one, and they may be different mentors in different stages of your life. I've had 3 different mentors, and they've been in different stages of my life. One was in my working life in Silicon Valley. I had a great mentor. Later, when I started my communities, I had a different mentor. And now, when I'm later in life, I have a different mentor and so forth.
Great, fantastic. Rishi?
So the next question is from Madhuri Sawant. She is based in Mumbai. She is founder and managing director of BrainPods Learning. And her question relates to how do you get funds for startup in the area of education technology? The goal of this startup is to empower teachers, professors with latest technology and methodologies.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think with any startup, especially here and in India as well, it's knocking on doors. I mean, it's a law of averages. I know one of my friends, I think he knocked on 148 doors, okay, and got no every time for his startup. No, 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 right? 149th time, that investor said yes. And now it's a unicorn company. The company is worth about 4 billion. But when he started his true life, 148 times, he got a no for an answer. Okay. So the key is, I would say, first of all, cultivate people in your network to go pitch to initially, our friends. Try your pitch with friends and friends of friends, and you kind of expand your network that way. So if you're doing the startup in education, go talk to some people in the education space. Go talk to friends of their friends, and so on and so forth. But it's a lot of it is knocking on doors. A lot of it is being smart on LinkedIn. Go find people who are investors who your friends know. Try to talk to them. And there are many, many such approaches you can take. But especially now talking of education, you have to be very careful because that is one of the spaces where I think artificial intelligence, AI, is going to play a disruptive role. So I don't know about your startup, but hopefully it better be the use of AI in doing something better in education, because a lot of education startups are now getting disrupted, the ones that were really become bigger and so forth. If they don't adopt AI, they're going to be disrupted by a completely new set of products very quickly. So your startup better be prepared for that AI storm. So I don't know your startup, but I think you start by pitching people and expanding your network, and be prepared for a lot of no's.
Great, thanks. There is another question by Jivesh. So, well, it's quite clear to understand from your journey then what has worked out for you. And his question is that, what do you think from your network and experience we can look at, specifically in fundamental science, which can probably work out these days? That's what his question is. Yeah, because some of your journey probably won't be applicable to entrepreneurs or people at the current time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it can be applied to other places. I think science is a fantastic realm. There's so many opportunities there. The key is, how do you move? Are you adept enough to move from one field or one area to another? How much risk are you willing to take? Are there people who are willing to accept you in a different discipline? So a lot of things go on there, but I think there's so much we don't know, right? About science. I think that's an area ripe for discovery, ripe for innovation, ripe for research. And so I think in that area, again, getting maybe a good mentor in that space would be helpful. And by the way, there's no pattern. My journey is one of millions, and every journey is different. So it doesn't have to be in the tech profession or marketing or sales or business. It can be in education. It could be in healthcare. It could be in climate-related stuff, in arts. You can be an artist and say, I've tried this form of dance and it didn't work, and I'll try something else. Or this doesn't give me enough purpose, I'll do singing. So it's just a matter of how you apply it in your specific area. So I don't think it's any different. Your life is no different than my life. It just, you have to kind of apply similar techniques to your journey.
Thanks.
So the next question is from Shailesh, and how should I go about finding a mentor? There are so many expectations without any
Oh,
returns.
we just discussed that. Yeah, we just discussed that.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe we go to the next. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
So the next
can take this
question
by
is
Swaroop. By Swaroop, we can take.
Swaroop. Yeah, Swaroop
Yeah.
Day. Youth is the best time to invest for building a difficult thing. True. But to do great things, you need two things: people's trust, which is credibility, and your own trust, self-confidence. Once credibility and confidence increases with age. So what is the optimization between the two?
I mean, it's a tough balance, right? Because I would argue also the older you become, you have more credibility, but you get more set in your ways. So whereas you're younger, you're more malleable. You can change, you can move, you can be adept. So I think there's a balance between the two. I talk to at least two entrepreneurs every week, and I've done this for 28 years. So I've talked to at least 5,000 entrepreneurs, either breakfast, lunch, dinner, Zoom call over time. And I think the younger entrepreneurs who come to me don't have the experience, but they have great ideas. The older entrepreneurs have maybe an idea that's not as bold sometimes as the younger entrepreneurs, because they have lived life and therefore a little bit bruised or hurt by experiences, and so they may not tend to be as bold sometimes. So it's a balance between the breadth and optimism you have as a young person, and whereas if you're an older person, it's kind of tempered by experience and having arrows on your back, right? So I think it's different, but I think it's a balance that everyone goes through. Obviously, you have more credibility, but on the other hand, a young person has fresh ideas that could be more meaningful and could be a bigger breakthrough sometimes than someone who's been through life and their journey has scars to show for it, and therefore their ideas may be more tempered. So it could go either way. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So I will take the final question because yeah, we are almost going to close. So the final question, maybe we can take, because it's quite interesting also. So what keeps you going to help people without expecting anything in return? And, how do we can keep ourselves going? So that's, maybe you can make a gist of your talk by answering this
Sure.
question.
I think once you find purpose, you keep doing it. I wake up every day. Like for this call, I got up at 6 a.m. to do this call. I love talking to people. I love sharing impact. For example, what keeps me going recently has been at In Diaspora, we did an impact report, and you can get this on our website. We worked with Boston Consulting Group to outline the impact the diaspora has made on US society and India, right? So if you go to our website, you'll see this. It's about the community. What we've done as citizens, right? We are 1.5% of the US, we pay 6% of the taxes, things of that sort. Make us feel good that we're giving back in taxes, right? We're not avoiding taxes, we're paying in taxes. Or we have 75,000 doctors in the US. Each doctor is doing great work. As a group, if you look at them, they treat 30 million people in the US. 30 million patients are treated by doctors of Indian origin. The 22,000 professors like you, Vaibhav, in the US, they teach 3 to 5 million college students here. See the impact that they're making, right? That's what keeps me going, is a collective impact of our society. When you kind of put it together, you go, wow, this is incredible stuff, right? We have 36,000 yoga studios in the US. This is a story we need to tell everyone, right? That we are bringing yoga to America and giving them mindfulness and health and well-being, and there's no price on that, right? Those are the kinds of things that keep me going. Is my purpose is to make sure everybody's doing good things and their good things are publicized and projected and everybody gets it. Because you think of a doctor, oh, he makes a lot of money. But when you look at it collectively, they're treating all of India. All the doctors in India are treating everybody in India. That's a beautiful thing, right? And so I get really excited about the impact people make, any individual makes, and that's what keeps me going. And for me, once you leave out what's in it for me, it's so much easier. You don't have to ever think. Vaibhav came to me and told me to do this talk. I didn't think of anything. I said, okay, we'll do it.
No,
I'm not
thanks a
going
lot
to
for
call you
that.
up for a favor.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. All right, all right. No, that was really, really fantastic talk. And now I will ask Rishi to please give the final words, and then I will do the formal closing. Yeah, Rishi, please.
This is an incredible, insight into your life, how you went about doing not just creating impact in the tech industry, but also a much broader impact. And you have also shown us path, at least one path, or one good way to do it. I know audiences have a lot of questions, and I'm so excited. I have a lot of my questions too, but
I too
you've
had, but
already
I didn't ask because audience had a lot of questions. So I didn't ask my question. Yeah.
No, but your journey is definitely inspirational.
Yeah.
It's not just about making money, but what do you do with it? You have to help others because somebody has helped you, and so it's a way to give back to the society. And it's very easy to say than done. A lot of people I know who are also on the Midas list, not as generous as you with time and money. So it's very different to see you do that. I personally also want to do a lot of social impact and all that. So you are definitely an inspiration for me and for many, many people who are here today. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming
Thanks. Yeah.
and talking to us.
Thanks a lot, Hishi. Amar, the same for me. It was very fantastic. In fact, when I had my first nonprofit, it was in northern Peru. So I was on a diplomatic mission in Peru, and it was COVID time. I started my first nonprofit in rural Peru, and it was focusing on animals and environment. And it's working. It was back in 2020. I started, still it's working. It has been a fantastic journey. But seeing someone like you, it makes me think probably there's a lot more to do, not only in Peru, maybe, other parts of the world. I started my first in Peru, then I started another one in India. But still, I feel that probably, to get someone like you, and understand how you guys work is a lot more interesting personally for me. But anyways, thanks a lot for your time. I'm pretty sure everyone found it really, really interesting. I think most of them had their learnings from this particular talk. Hopefully, Rishi and I will get back to you to do something impactful together. We have some things in mind, so probably we both together will reach out to you, and hopefully we will be able to do something more impactful, as your vision is, and our vision is. And thanks a lot, anyways, for your precious time.
One last parting thought: if people want to get hold of you, Amar, how do they do that? What is the best way?
LinkedIn. I think I already shared the LinkedIn post. He's very active on LinkedIn, and hopefully if they post any comment or something, hopefully you'll get to read it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hit me up on LinkedIn. That's the best.
Yeah.
Also get our newsletters that are all on the website.
I already shared the links of Indiaspora, all the things that you mentioned. I've already shared them in the chat, and hopefully, probably most of them, IITians at least, I know they're very active, and they get back very, very closely. Thanks a lot. I will not take any more of your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.